Well, I'm going to say this. It's great to be with y'all. Again, it's exciting time. Again, when these start to get to these press conferences, I mean, it's game time. So that's what the guys all strive for, and as coaches, we do too. It's an exciting time of the year when you put a new team together and you watch them develop and you watch them come together and you work with them every day and you get them ready, and you still really don't know how everything's going to come together. There's always going to be a surprise or two, good and bad. But I think that's what the excitement of it, the newness of everything that happens each and every year, I think is a big part of why we love to kick off the season and see this team develop. But I'm anxious to watch it. I think it's worked very hard in the offseason, not just in camp, but I'm saying from last January, right after the bowl game. I think our offseason went well, our spring practices, our summer practices. I think they put in a lot of hard work. I think they're understanding the mentality in which we want to play with and the demeanor in which we want to play with and psychological disposition we want to play with. And I think our kids have done that. I think they've grown together. I think the new freshmen coming in have adapted very well, and I think our upperclassmen have done a really good job of engaging those guys and not alienate them in any way. I mean, bringing them in the fold and showing them, because they realize that we're going to need everybody on this team to be successful, and those freshmen have done a great job of doing that in a very respectful way. And a lot of guys have made their way into rotation, but done it in a way that, hey, we're part of this team, and I love the interaction between both groups. And I say that's always a big part of when you're going into a new season, how those groups react, because you get your team set for a summer, and then all of a sudden here comes a new group of guys coming in, and how do they fit, and whose roles they jump into, or what happens. And I think from that standpoint, I've been very pleased. I think camp has been a very challenging camp, very physical camp, very tough camp, very hot camp. I mean, we didn't have much rain. We didn't have much cool days, many cool days at all. Thought our kids learned to grind through that. I thought practice well, and hopefully we're getting into stages where we can get into game mode and start to understand how to compete. And we're starting our game preparations in practice right now. So it's kind of good to start thinking about an opponent, not about each other. But the big thing is, I think they establish how they want to play. And I think it's not about our opponents. It's not about anything, and that's no disrespect, because we have a tremendous schedule, and like you always do in this league. And but I think our guys, we have to understand ourselves before we can understand our opponents. And I think we've gotten to that point in camp. So looking forward to how this week goes and how next Thursday goes. Questions?
Right, Gabe, and then down front, Brent.
Yeah, since last time we talked to Jimbo, you guys named Braden White as the 12th man. What did you see in Braden that?
My answer to that is what I didn't see in Braden. I never saw a day off. I never saw anything taken for granted. I see nothing. He exemplified everything in which the 12th man stands for and how he approaches things personally, academically, athletically, team-wise, leadership-wise. I mean, just a consummate human being. I mean, not just player, but I'm talking about a human being. He is extremely impressive in everything he does, and he knows one speed, and that's full go and to do it right. And I think he exemplifies everything about the 12th man. And like I say, it was a very tough decision. And I say that not, because we made it. You say every decision's tough, but we wanted to make sure we did our due diligence and overtime. And there was a lot of guys that really started pressing. And there's some really, really great young men on this team. But I think he just stands head out above everybody consistently, day in, day out, and how he does everything in his life.
Down front, Brent.
How have your starting offensive tackles developed in the past year, and also the quick impression that Kenyon Green obviously made on you in camp?
I think our tackles have really become not only bigger and stronger, faster, all that from the physical part, become much smarter. I think understanding how the scheme and where the help comes from. When I have chip help, when I have inside help, when somebody's sliding to me, when we're on the two-man side and away from the slide and I don't have any help. I think they've become much smarter football players, which has allowed them to become much more physical. They've gotten their bodies in better positions where they can play with better leverage, and their eyes are a lot better, I think. And I think that's huge in the offensive line, because everything up there, people don't realize how fast those things happen. And a guy gets just a half a step or an inch on you, that leverage point can change you. You know what I mean? And I think I've been very pleased with their development, and you're going to have to, because in this league you're going to block really good people. And Kenyon's done a great job. I mean, he's been very physical inside, been consistent for the most part. I mean, as a freshman, every now and then you'll have some little mistakes, and just once you teach him things, he very rarely makes the same mistake twice. You know what I mean? And I think that's a big part of the early guys. And he's naturally physical. God's blessed him, and he's worked hard with that body. So I mean, sometimes freshmen don't always get to play because it's just the size and physicality. But God's blessed him, and he's taken advantage of it, and he's a great competitor, and he's a very smart, intelligent young man.
To the right, Christy, and then to the left, Travis.
In what ways have you seen Kellen grow from when you got here until now?
You know, first of all, just plain football knowledge. I think he's really become a student of the game. Not that he didn't know before, but he was young. He shouldn't have known. You know what I mean? He was a young guy. I think where he's understanding is how a quarterback, or any position, but really a quarterback, has to prepare, and the amount of decisions and knowledge in which he has to have to make those decisions, and how important they are, and how I think the big thing is he is learning to truly appreciate he touches the ball every play, and he can change the game on every play. But sometimes by changing it by not doing something wrong, not just doing anything great, but by respecting the ball, respecting his teammates, knowing when to take the chances. I think knowing how to play the position, and that the position is not just about himself, and that's what I'm talking about. It's how the other guys feel with you. You're never the quarterback until your team will go through hell for you. That's period. Does the offense do everything they got to do to protect you, fight, scratch, claw, make plays for you, want to get you the ball, and the defense on the other side, hey, all I know is that's just get him the ball, something good's going to happen. And I'm not saying it just superior talent or things, but that guy finds a way to get us in the end zone, or he leads us, and I love that guy. And I think he gets that from his teammates. I think his teammates respect him for his work ethic, his demeanor, his competitive nature, and more importantly, his just genuineness for our team to do well. And I think he's really grown in a lot of areas. But I'm gonna say a big part of that. I think he's been brought up very, very well. He is a very, very mature young man who's been raised very, very well.
To the left, Travis.
Coach, Jake Spavital's a guy who's been around here before. What previous interactions have you had with him, and what are some of the hallmarks of his offense or challenges of his offense?
I've never had any with Jake. I mean, I know of him and know of his successes. I mean, and I think the thing about it is the balance. And I mean, even though you know everybody thinks of the numbers and the throwing and the things they do, and I think Jake does it. He's a very smart coach, and he features what he has. And you go back into West Virginia, they throw the football. If you go back, they really ran that football. I mean, there was a lot of big time rushing yards, and I think he understands how to utilize his players. I think their strengths, what they can and cannot do, and he's very diverse. He makes you play all parts of the field with splits, alignments, throwing it, getting it everywhere he goes. And I think he's a very, very excellent offensive mind in how he does it, and I'm sure his teams are going to be prepare well and play well.
To the left, Cease.
Jimbo, you lost a fullback and a tight end you're probably counting on in off-season. Gone in. Where are you at in those positions now? And might that change how you call plays, maybe particularly early in the season?
I mean, even though the tight end we lost a tight end, but it's still a young tight end. And we have some other guys that play. Beal has been outstanding. Wiedemeyer's been outstanding. Ori's really come over and done a good job. I mean, so I don't think it'll vary how much we really call plays in that regard. And the fullback position, I know we lost Ben, but at the same time, we last year, if you look, we played two tailbacks. We played the big fullback, and I think we've done Boldry has really done a nice job in there. I mean, he is blocking, he's running, and I'm gonna tell you what, he can catch the football. He does all the things we need to do. So really, I don't think it will. That answer your question. I'm thinking of it as I'm answering it. I don't think it will. And we put out what I like to do in camp is make them do those things to say it quick and don't put limitations on somebody. So we ran the same things, and I was very, very pleased with the progress we made pretty quickly in both those positions.
To the right, Gabe, and to the left, Suzanne.
Kind of a two-parter on the corners. Notice Devion Renfro wasn't on the depth chart, if you could assess that. And then Miles Jones, how have you seen him continue to grow?
I'll do Miles. Miles has done a really nice job. I mean, being consistent, competitive. He's long. His quickness and change of direction and speed have gotten much better, and I think his understanding of how to create leverage and as a corner, knowing where your help is or when you have help and when you don't have help. I think he's very, very competitive, and I think he's done a really nice job. I think he's improved drastically. Devion right now is just he won't play in this game. It's a violation of team rules.
To the left, Suzanne.
Two quick questions. One on Jake Spavital, is it even worth it for you to go back and pull film from his Aggie time?
No doubt.
So have you done
I already
that?
have.
Okay. And also, and just on that subject too, their offensive coordinator under him, Bob Stitt, is pretty offensive and innovator. And I didn't know if you had.
I'd never been around those guys, but know of them and know of their work. And like you say, that's the thing about opening games and guys we could get anything, and probably will get anything. I mean, that's what they're going to do, and it's going to be a great challenge, that's for sure.
And the other thing I was going to ask you pertains to your team. You've got a bunch of oars on your running backs. Is that just to fake out everybody? Or
No, I
is
mean,
it-
I think guys, because there's different roles for what we ask to do based on different packages in which we would put those certain guys in over other guys. You know what I mean? Trying to take young guys and utilize their individual talents and what they might be. So because of the situation of the game, you could see that guy before that guy, but it doesn't really matter. And if it was a different situation we were trying to do with a different package, it might be that guy over that guy. You know what I'm saying? So I think what we've tried to do is make sure we've identified that they have certain roles and then they all can do everything, but there's certain things they do better than each other, and so those things will be featured.
Stay to the left, Chuck, and then Justin right behind you.
And just to double check on the running backs, because there's an or between Corbin and the others as well. Is Corbin your number one guy, though?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to
He
clarify.
is.
And the other thing, just to clarify on Renfro, it's just a one-game suspension for him?
Well, we'll see as it goes.
Goes right behind Justin.
Coach, can you update us on Kendrick Rogers, and if he can't go, just your depth at receiver and how comfortable you are moving guys around?
Well, Kendrick is on, it's this day to day. He's getting much better. So we'll see. I don't know that, but I mean, receiver wise, we've been very pleased with the depth, and our young guys coming in have played very well. And in the last week or so, we can have you really starting to see it come together.
Down front, Brent, and then Olin.
Now, the other day you told us Kellen and Connor had kind of set out on one of the scrimmages so you could see the younger guys. I took that to mean you just wanted to see the younger guys, but did that mean Connor is your number two, or do you have a number two?
No, I just want to see the young guys. I think I'd seen Connor in different situations, and I wanted to see those young guys perform with ones and twos when you're in a huddle consistently over not just for a few plays, but to go for a drive and have a great success and maybe have failure and see how not only did they respond, but how the guys responded to them. That's very important too, and how you interact. And the only way you do that is get them in those situations.
So you don't have a number two, right?
No, we're making that decision here pretty quickly, but not yet.
Right side, Olin.
Yeah, Jimbo, when you played quarterback, were you as demanding and detail-oriented on yourself as a quarterback as you
Yes.
are now?
I was very. I mean, I was.
It wasn't something you had
I
to
was
learn?
very competitive. Now, the thing that we were talking about this today, it was funny how we talking about film. I wish we had the film we had today. I mean, I wish we had the immediate feedback after practice where you could see yourself and do things. You know what I'm saying? Because then it was all about word of mouth. You never, because film and practice till video come in, which was the later '80s, you couldn't even get. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, having practice film was extremely tough in doing things. I mean, so I wish we did. But yes, I mean, I like to think I was all the thing, but I was extremely competitive. Winning mattered to me. Big time, doing well mattered to me, and so when I competed and played, I wanted to do it and do it right.
Front left, Travis.
Coach, what did a year of sitting out with the injury do for Anthony and his development to become who he is this year?
Well, I think anytime, I think he would have to answer that question more so than I. But my past experiences with that is that I think, guys, you truly appreciate what you have because you realize how quick it can be going and that how much you truly love it. It's like everything. We gripe about everything. Everything we have in our life. As soon as it goes away, I can't live without that. I mean, it's just like we do it with everything. And I think sometimes, and you're in such a certain small window, especially with athletes, how quick this thing can be over and how long, do you really have in it. And I think, you hate the grind sometimes. You hate to lift. You hate to watch film. You hate, Coach got me going here. Coach got me going here. He's got me up at 6 in the morning. Got me up at 7 in the morning. I got to stay till 8 in the night. I mean, and I hate this. I'm never going to do it. And as soon as you don't have it, you go crazy. And I think it does really put things in perspective. And from a maturity standpoint, usually makes those guys more mature quicker. And I think when they sit back and really watch practice, because a lot of them will do that then, and they start seeing things through a coach's eyes, that why we gripe and complain and how something's so minute or little that why does he bother me about that? How it can affect the big picture. And most of the guys I've ever been a part of are really, and he's one of those guys that they become back better players for the appreciation of the game and not only how much they love it, but how much the detail of it is important.
To the right, Christy, and to the left, Alex, and then Olin.
You've talked a lot about instilling your mindset and values into this team. Do you feel like they've fully bought into that? And if so, when did you kind of notice the change or feel it?
Well, I guess you probably have to ask them more than me about how they talk or what they truly believe. I feel like that. I think how we practice, how we respond to each other. And I think sometimes you hear them say things. Sometimes when I hear comments that they say in here, because you wonder, it's like, as your kids at home sometimes, you say it a million times, and you say, he ain't got it, he ain't got it. And then he's talking to, he's talking to his coach or a friend, a neighbor, and he said, well, your son said so. You hear him say that, and you go, huh? You know what I mean? You really were listening. You know what I mean? I think it's more in your actions of how they practice and how they respond to things and why you get on them. And from that, I think yes, because when you get mad and I get mad, or you start pushing them and challenging them when things aren't going right, their responses have never been to fight you. It's just, I got it, coach. We'll get it right. And then I hear comments they make in here, or people tell me things they say. So hopefully it's sinking in. I think, and I believe it is by how we practice and the toughness and the way we play and compete.
To the left, Alex, and then Olin.
Hey, Coach. We see a lot of oars at safety, too. Is Damani Richardson a guy that's going to be hard to keep off the field, though?
Oh yeah. Damani right now is number one. Damani's playing right now. He's number one, and he'll be playing, and he does a lot of really good things. He's had a great camp.
To the right, Olin. Time for a couple more.
Jimbo, what can you learn about your team when you play a lesser opponent like you are?
You see, how you interact in the game, how you function as a unit, how you compete in the game. Your opponent doesn't matter. What matters is yourself. Who you play does not matter. I know people don't believe that. If you're not, it's the truth. There's a standard in which you have to play. You have to play to your standard, how you play. And listen, they're coming to win that game too. They got a very good team. The coaches have had success. Listen, you don't ever take anything for granted. We have to play well. We have to get better. We have to improve. We have to play as a unit. We have to make the adjustments. And things become live and they matter. And as I say, the lights on the scoreboard are lit up. It changes. It's a standard in which you have to play to, and it doesn't matter who the opponent is. It's our standard of how we got to play.
Coach, we'll go far back, and then Gabe, you'll wrap us up.
Coach, any concern that your guys may be overlooking Texas State with Clemson on the horizon?
I don't see it. I promise you that. And we haven't talked about Clemson one time. And won't.
We'll finish up with Gabe.
Cam Buckley earlier noted that he can count on one hand the number of times you've gotten onto him this camp, and he said it was about that many times per day last year. Have you noticed a guy who's a veteran now getting back?
Without a doubt. No, as I say, they didn't know. But also guys that, they understand the standard, the way we want things, how we want things done, and what's going to be acceptable and not. And the guys who really want to compete, they make changes. We all have bosses. We all have to make changes. We all have to do things. And I think he has done that. And I think because it shows you how important ball is to him, how important his team is to him. And he's had a very good camp.